Hello, everybody. My name is Jacob, and welcome to the Epileptic Gamer Podcast. So, now I'm going to give you a quick heads up. My throat is hurting because I am recording this right after I did the Dear Game Developers episode, which is the one right below this one. So, I got a little bit heated in the last episode, so my voice is kind of off, so if I sound weird, that is why. I apologize in advance. Now, let's get on to the episode. The PlayStation straight up just changed the game entirely. And when I say entirely, I mean they just dropped the world's biggest bombshell in gaming history. Now, not gaming history, I would say in their history. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's rewind the clock. It's 2004. The PSP just comes out. Great times, there's a lot of great games on that thing, and they even introduced handhelds for PlayStation. Nintendo comes out with the DS around that time too. Nintendo's sales soar, and when I say soar, they go skyrocketing. Now, customers naturally see this, think, oh, we're going to go to Nintendo, that's the better one. PSP doesn't do too well, Nintendo DS does. PSP gets a 10-year life cycle though. Then the DSi comes out. You can see where this is going. There's a little bit of a race. Well, now that's not good because we need to have a competitor. The DSi is coming out, and then the Nintendo DS 3D, I believe is what they call it. The 3DS, DS. I think it's a 3DS. Let's put it that way. It's one of the two. So that comes out. We need a competitor for the 3DS. What do we do in this scenario? Let's release another handheld. That handheld is called the PlayStation Vita. Comes out in 2011. Doesn't do too hot, does it? To the point where we just don't hear about it anymore. It's gone. Like, you can't find them anywhere. And if you do find them, they're marked up so ridiculously high. Because that's how rare they are. If you can find a game with an original case, sell it on eBay for about $800. Because someone's going to look for it. That's how rare these things are. It did not do well in the US. Meanwhile, overseas, it did great. PSP did phenomenal. So did the PS Vita. Good on them. PlayStation made a profit over there. You bring it to the Western front over here in the good old US of A, where I live, well, let's just say it didn't last. It got discontinued. And you can't find anything over here anymore. That's not fun. So, what went wrong? A lot of stuff did, because the PS Vita really didn't have a lot of games. It, at best, had Sly Cooper. It had Call of Duty. And they had some games that were cross-platform, where if you bought one game on the PS3, you'd have it for PS Vita. That's how they were selling games for the PS Vita. People just didn't want to buy them. That's not good. Since the PS Vita got completely decommissioned, and when I mean decommissioned, wiped off the face of the earth, let's call a spade, it decided to pull a Hail Mary and have one last hoorah. Fast forward today. Or last week. Last week. PlayStation Showcase. Okay. We have a good showcase so far. A lot of fun games. Then the head of the PlayStation comes on. Says, we're going to show you what's coming up next. Interesting. And it's not a game. It's a console. It's called Project Q, and it's Sony's next handheld. You heard that right. PlayStation. The people that made PSP and PS Vita, which bombed, are diving back into the handheld freaking business. Holy shit. They are going for it. PlayStation, of all the companies, I did not expect. I expected Xbox to do it first. I really did. Because at least Xbox can't. We have the Steam Deck. That works because at least it's on PC. Now, PlayStation of all things, the last time we saw a handheld console was 2019. And that's when it got discontinued. And that was the PlayStation Vita. When's the last time you heard of a console that came out on handheld for PlayStation? The last one that came out, I'm looking, is 2011. And that was the Vita. That didn't have that much long of a lifespan. It had a 7-year lifespan, or 8 years, I'm sorry. 2011 to 2019. Got released mid-lifespan of the PSP, which was 2004 to 2014. The PS Vita bombed so badly that there were 1,000 articles online saying PlayStation just shouldn't even consider doing another handheld console. So why now? What is so different about Project Q? Why all of a sudden are you looking at this and saying, what can we do to make it successful? From what they showed off, and what I think is going to be the biggest selling point of them all, is you can play PlayStation 5 games on the Project Q. They showed it playing God of War Ragnarok. That's fucking impressive considering how demanding of Ragnarok that game really is. That game, it needs a lot. To the point where when it first got released, it made people's PlayStation 4s sound like a jet turbine. That's how demanding the game is. It's pretty insane. And now you're going to pull this out of your rat's ass. Holy shit. Never in my wildest dreams would I thought I'd see a handheld console from the PlayStation. Not in my lifetime. I thought they were done. And in 2023, they said we don't have a release date yet, but we're calling it internally. They're calling it Project Q. And it was kept so under wraps that I didn't see a single insider, leaker, anybody, not a single person, come out and say they were going to release this console. They were going to announce this console at the showcase. As far as they're concerned, they said, here's what's next for the PlayStation 5. That's what the showcase is for. That's what they said it was for. Then midway through, you're dropping a console announce. Holy shit, PlayStation just either changed the game or made the most ridiculous mistake in their lives. This can go, there's no gray area here. And I think PlayStation knows this. They can either bomb like what happened with the PlayStation Vita, or they can have the most successful release of all time, like the Nintendo Switch. And that's honestly what it looks like. It looks like a Nintendo Switch screen, a little bit bigger, I should say. Like the size of an iPad, maybe, an iPad mini. And with just DualShock controllers. And they even said it's a DualShock controller. It's going to have the same effects. That's incredible. And the fact that they can get God of War to run on it shows that they can get Horizon Forbidden West to run on it, which is a lot. You can get Call of Duty to run on that thing. Maybe not multiplayer, but you can get it to run. I mean, that's as is. I mean, how nobody's talking about this. The biggest thing they're talking about is the fact that, Spider-Man 2 got announced. Congratulations. We knew about Spider-Man 2. Why is no one talking about how big of a deal Project Q is? It is the PlayStation's most recent handheld console since 2019. 2019. That is huge. That is, granted, a 5-year deficit. 4, I'm sorry. But that's a big deal. And PlayStation is either stupid or they're fucking geniuses. There's no midway, and knowing PlayStation, they are geniuses. They know that they can pull this off, or they would not have done it. If you are saying to yourself right now, as you're listening to this, the Project Q is gonna bomb, you're lying to yourselves. It might not sell well. It might not sell as well as they think they're going to. It's not going to pull PlayStation 3 numbers. That's just called. Nothing is going to do that again. But it is going to sell. There are people out there that will go on the road and want to play games. That's the selling point for Nintendo Switch. Now, our biggest question of them all is Project Q a straight up competitor to Nintendo Switch? I don't think so. I think Nintendo knows that, and I feel like if they would have at least pulled something out of their hat, I think if they knew it was a competitor, Nintendo would have said something. And they would have announced something the day of. Or Sony wouldn't have announced something on a showcase. They would have gone where Nintendo was, like an E3 event, and announced it there. To try to take away headlines. Instead, what they do, they pick a showcase, say it's just for games, and announce a console. Not just a console, the console. This is the third one that at least I know of that is handheld. I could be wrong. I know they have a PSP Slim. I'm not counting that. I'm counting that under the PSP category. So, again, why now? Why not? That's what I say. Why the hell not? If they think that they can get this to work, and they truly think that they can pull it off, I'm all in. Let's see what you got, Sony. You can do it. And I have full faith in them. Because they are not Atari. They are not Sega. They are not a company that went out of business like they did. Sony stuck around for 20 plus years for a reason. They adapted. For those of you that don't know, here's a little history lesson. And this makes me feel old. You want to know how the PlayStation got invented? Nintendo had a deal one time, at one point, with Sony. That they said they want to put the game discs, I believe it was on Nintendo 64. They're looking at it. They're like, no, this is stupid. Contract is terminated. Well, Sony sees this opportunity. Looking at it, not a bad idea. Discs. It's not cartridges. It's sure hell going to be a different selling point. They pull the trigger, and it sells like hotcakes. Next best thing than sliced bread. And the biggest what-if scenario, in my opinion, in gaming history, is what if Nintendo took that deal? You don't have a PlayStation 5. We don't have Sly Cooper. We don't have Uncharted. We don't have any of that. We're going to have Mario on discs. Let's just put that in. You had Mario 64 on a disc. And as far as I'm concerned, I believe there's only like 3 in existence. And one of them, I think, is in PlayStation Studios. And you could probably find the other 2 somewhere. But no one's going to get rid of them because that's gaming history. And granted, I know I just went on a little nerd trip of my own there. But that's the origin of the PlayStation. That's big. And who would have thought Nintendo messing up, saying, no, we don't want to do discs anymore, causes the biggest ripple effect of all time. And here we are, so many years later, and we have the PlayStation 5 now running, going on to Project Q. Wow. How far have we come? Now that's a little history lesson. So I ask again, why now? I want to get your guys' opinions. Because that's a lot. I mean, yeah, they announced some headphones, but that's headphones. Big deal. Can we talk about the fact that we got a new console? I see people talking about Spider-Man 2 and a few other games. That's all I see from the showcase. Not one person I see talking about Project Q, and it needs more attention. So, did PlayStation change the game? I truly think if this works, companies are going to follow suit. Nintendo Switch is selling well. And I don't think this is meant to be a competitor. I fully think Sony is going at this at a different angle. And that's what they need to do. I think their biggest mistake with the PlayStation Vita was that they made it a competitor for the Nintendo DS. They did that. They failed. And in turn, it failed all around. Now, will history repeat itself? You don't learn from the past, it's going to happen. Time's going to tell. Once we see more stuff about it, time will tell what happens. Until then, my name is Jacob. It was great talking to you all. I will see you in the next episode. You all have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.